Caitlin Clark was afraid to leave locker room in high school because of her mom. Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark admitted in a 2024 interview that her mom would scold her for technical fouls as the star has cut her offenses during the 2025 season. Last season, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark almost earned a one-game suspension from the WNBA due to her 6 technical fouls, one away from an automatic ban. The WNBA increased the number of technicals needed to earn a one-game suspension in 2025 from 7 to 8. This move coincides with the season increasing from 40 to 44 games. Clark is known to frequently remonstrate with officials in a similar fashion to Luka Doncic and Draymond Green in the NBA. This isn't new. In 2024, the former University of Iowa star admitted she faced the wrath from her mother for earning technicals in AAU tournaments. Meanwhile, she has recently opened up on coping with her first WNBA setback. When I used to get technical fouls in high school, I did not want to come out of the locker room after the game because I knew my mom would be mad, she said in an ESPN feature. But if I got one during an AAU tournament, I don't think my dad would tell my mom. He knew my mom would not be happy, but he understood it from a competitive standpoint. Angel Reese of the Chicago Sky leads the WNBA in technical fouls this season with 7, 2 more than Washington Mystics center Shakira Austin. Due to various injuries, Clark has only played in 10 games, and her counting stats are down across the board, except for assists. She only has 2 technical fouls on the year. The Indiana Fever star missed the 2025 All-Star Game in Indianapolis after re-aggravating a quad injury in the contest before the break against the Connecticut Sun. She hasn't featured since. In an official statement on Clark's timeline to return, the team was coy. Following a July 15 injury to her right groin, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week, it read. The team can confirm that no additional injuries or damage were discovered through the evaluations. Clark will continue working with the Fever medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation, with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for Clark's return, and no additional details will be provided at this time. Any further updates will be shared as they become available. Indiana is currently 13-12 after an 80-70 victory over the Las Vegas Aces without Clark in their last game. Long before Caitlin Clark became a household name, long before she was lighting up scoreboards and inspiring arenas full of fans, she was just a teenage girl standing in front of a locker room door, frozen. It was sophomore year at Dowling Catholic High School. The gym smelled like hardwood and ambition. Caitlin had just scored 34 points against a crosstown rival, yet she wasn't celebrating. Instead, she was sitting in the locker room with her warm-up jacket pulled over her head, heart pounding, palms sweaty, dreading the moment she had to walk out that door. Because she knew her mom was waiting. Not with flowers, not with hugs, but with expectation. And Clark, a former athlete herself, was not the kind of sports mom to scream from the stands or berate referees. No, and was quiet, calm. But her eyes saw everything. Every missed screen, every lazy pass, every selfish shot Caitlin took, even when the net swished perfectly after. And somehow, that quiet kind of disappointment was worse than a sideline lecture. It lived inside Caitlin like a shadow. "Why are you hiding in here?" one of her teammates joked, spraying deodorant into the air like a locker room fog machine. Caitlin forced a laugh, just waiting for the coast to be clear. But deep down, she wasn't joking. That night, she remembered launching a heat-check 3 with 3 defenders on her. It went in. The crowd erupted. Her teammates tackled her at half-court. But she also remembered ignoring her coach's drawn-up play. And in Clark's rulebook, that mattered. It wasn't about the points. It was about the principle. Caitlin could already hear the car ride home. You didn't trust your teammates. You dribbled too much in the third quarter. You can be the best, but not if you play for yourself. Most kids might have brushed it off, but Caitlin wanted her mom's approval more than any fan's cheers. It was a double-edged sword. Her mom believed in her, expected greatness, pushed her to be not just the best player on the floor, but the best leader. But on nights like this, that expectation felt like a boulder she carried under her jersey. So she sat, alone, wondering if maybe it would be easier to just stay in the locker room. Then her phone buzzed. A text from her mom. "Meet me by the vending machines. You earned a root beer." Caitlin stared at the message. No lecture? No film session breakdown? She peeked out from the locker room door, and sure enough, her mom was leaning against the vending machine outside the gym, 2 cans of root beer in hand like peace offerings. Caitlin stepped out cautiously, as if the hallway was a minefield. "Hey," and said, offering the cold can. Caitlin took it slowly. "You're not mad," and smiled. "Why would I be mad? You made the right decision. You took over when no one else could." "But I ignored the play," Caitlin said, eyes searching her mother's face for the critique. "You saw something the coach didn't. That's part of leadership too," and replied, "Just don't make a habit of freelancing." Caitlin almost choked on her root beer. Her mom had just given her a compliment. That night changed something. She still feared disappointing her mom, sure, but she started to see it less as fear and more as fuel. Her mom wasn't trying to break her confidence, she was trying to shape it, to make her see that success wasn't just about highlights and box scores. It was about intention, about doing things the right way, even when no one was watching. Years later, as Caitlin Clark made her WNBA debut under blinding lights and roaring crowds, she smiled to herself in the locker room before tip-off. Her teammates laughed and joked around her, but Caitlin took a moment of stillness. She wasn't afraid to leave the locker room anymore, because now she understood. That fear she felt in high school wasn't fear of her mother. It was the fear of failing someone who saw her potential before anyone else did. The fear of falling short of impossible standards that made her into the player she'd become. And now, when the lights were brightest, she carried that same fire into every arena. Sometimes, before a big game, she'd still get a text from her mom.